There is a recording, 11 seconds long, that I have listened to more times than I will admit. It is my own voice, calling my own name, from a room I was standing alone in. The thing about it is that I never said it. I want to be careful here, because I'm not a believer by trade. I survey buildings. I write reports about load-bearing walls and water a roof can be saved. I deal in things you can measure. So when the county hired me to assess the old Harnell textile mill before its demolition, I treated it like any other dead building. I packed a tape measure, a moisture meter, 2 lanterns, and a small voice recorder I use to dictate notes when my hands are full. The mill sat at the end of a gravel road outside a town that had mostly given up on itself. 4 stories of red brick, every window either boarded or gone. It had closed in the 70s after a fire on the 3rd floor killed nobody but ended the business anyway. Since then, it had just stood there, soaking up rain, growing quieter, the kind of quiet that has weight to it. I went in on a Monday morning with 2 other people. A woman named Pell from the Historical Society, who wanted photographs before the wrecking crews came, and a kid named Dower, an intern in the county, sent to carry equipment and learn the trade. The 3 of us, our breath fogging in the cold, our boots loud on a floor that had not heard footsteps in 50 years. The first hour was ordinary. We measured. Pell took her pictures. Dower asked too many questions. I dictated into my recorder, the way I always do. North wall, water staining at the seam, possible structural compromise, normal work. I want you to understand how normal it was, so you understand the rest. It started with the echoes. Not strange ones. At first they were exactly right. I would say a word, and the mill would hand it back, fainter, off the far brick. Dower thought it was funny. He shouted his own name up the stairwell, just to hear it come down. We all did it, eventually. The building was a good listener. By the 2nd hour I noticed the echoes were getting slower. There would be a gap. I would speak, and a full second would pass, sometimes 2, before the word came back. That is not how echoes work. Sound does not get tired. Sound does not wait. But I told myself the acoustics were complicated, all those runes and shafts, and I kept working. It was Pell who pointed out the other thing. She had been calling for Dower, who had wandered up to the 2nd floor. She called his name 3 times, and the 4th time before she opened her mouth, the building called it for her. In her voice, the exact pitch, the exact tired edge she had. She went pale and looked at me, and I told her it was a delay, a leftover echo. I did not believe it even as I said it. There had been no 4th call to echo. We should have left then. I have gone over that moment 100 times, but leaving felt insane. It was a building. Buildings do not do anything. So we kept going, and the mill kept listening, and it was getting better at us with every passing minute. The recorder is what made it undeniable. I had left it running on a windowsill on the 1st floor while the 3 of us worked the upper rooms. When I played it back that night, the first 20 minutes were just our voices, the real ones, drifting in from elsewhere in the building. Then, at around the 23-minute mark, something changes. My voice comes on the recording, close to the microphone, clear. It says, North wall, water staining at the seam. Word for word, what I had dictated an hour earlier on the 3rd floor. But I was not on the 1st floor at that time. The recorder was alone in that room, and the voice is not a memory of me. It is a rehearsal, because right after it, the same voice says the line again, slightly different. North wall, water, staining, slower, purer, trying the shape of the words. Practicing. I sat in my truck and listened to that machine teach itself to be me, and I understood that the building had not been echoing us. It had been collecting us. By the third hour, on that last day inside, the mill had stopped sounding like a building at all. The footsteps were the worst part. We would stop walking, all three of us standing still, and the footsteps would continue, just for a beat, like something a half second behind, still finishing the motion we had started. Dower's gait, which dragged a little on the left, Pell's quick short steps, mine that was so does the units of all three patterns overlapping, coming from the stairwell where no one stood. Pell wanted to leave. I agreed. We started for the exit, and that is when the building made its first real mistake. And I think it knew it was a mistake, because it never made another. From the second floor, in my voice, perfectly, it said, Dower, come up here a second. And Dower turned toward the stairs. I grabbed his arm. I told him I had not said that. He looked at me like I was the strange one, because to him, it had been my voice. It had been completely my voice. The only reason I knew it was wrong is that I knew my own mouth had not moved. That is a thin, thin thing to stand on. And the building had learned that the voice was enough. That people follow a familiar voice up a dark staircase without checking whether the mouth that made it is real. We left. We left. We did not run, which I'm almost proud of. We walked out together, the three of us close, not speaking, because the silence was the only thing we could trust now. Behind us, as we crossed the threshold in the daylight, I heard it. 3 sets of footsteps, walking with us all the way to the door, and then stopping at the line where the sunlight started, the way a dog stops at the edge of a yard it has learned not to cross. I filed my report. I recommended immediate demolition, citing structural failure, which was true enough. I did not write down the rest. Who would I write it to? There is no line on the form for a building that is learning to be the people inside it. Crews tore the mill down 3 weeks later. I drove out to watch because I needed to see the brick come apart, needed the proof that it was only ever brick. And it came down easy, all that red dust hanging in the air, and I felt the knot in my chest loosen. It was just a building. It was always just a building. I kept the recording. I should have deleted it. But there is something at the very end of it that I keep going back to. Sound after the demolition crew has gone quiet. After my own real footsteps walk away from the windowsill for the last time. A soft sound. My voice, barely there, almost gentle. It says my name. My first name. The one I never spoke inside that building. The one I never gave it. And I have started to wonder how it learned that. I have started to wonder whether a thing like that needs the building to live in at all, or whether the building was only ever the classroom. Because last week, in my own house, alone, I heard my voice say my name from the next room, and I have not figured out yet whether I should answer